Hello.
Hello.
I'm ready to make some plant-based sausage.
Oh yeah. Have you tried it before?
It was good. I liked it. It had some
Nice.
spice. It had some it was juicy. Tell it wasn't meat, but like I didn't mind.
Yeah. Yeah, they're getting there. Not quite
Yeah.
there yet with the authenticity taste, but
I mean, honestly, I've been surprised by the Burger King Impossible Burger. I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good.
yeah.
That was pleasant.
Yeah, the impossible, you can really trick somebody with that one. Like my
Yeah.
boyfriend doesn't eat meat and sometimes I do. So like I made regular burger for me and impossible for him and then I mixed them up by accident and like
Yeah.
I really had to investigate and figure out.
So we're here for another episode of Proof is in the Pudding. Today we're joined by the lovely, effervescent, positive, radiant Liz Bills.
Hello.
We're inspired by you to make, I've been calling this vegan bolognese, but it's probably not.
Yeah,
I
I could
mean,
go with that.
yeah,
Why not?
there's a few different vegetables, some sausage.
Mhm.
I'm putting some mushrooms in mine because I just like
Oh,
mushrooms.
nice.
Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'll
you
grab some
had
mushrooms.
black olives, spinach, tomato sauce, nutritional yeast, or our fake Parmesan cheese,
Awesome.
onions. I got a huge heirloom tomato because I didn't actually find
Oh,
baby tomatoes, so I'm just gonna
nice. I
chop
have
this
some.
big boy up. And
Nice.
then our plant-based sausage.
Yeah, most everything the same. Where's my camera? I'm trying to like show people things. This is the pasta that I like to use. It's like a
Oh
gluten.
yeah, I couldn't find it. I just found like spaghetti.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's plenty of options. But yeah, in case
Yeah.
anyone's like gluten intolerant, this is like the only brand that I actually like that I think is comparable. It doesn't taste like crap like a lot of them. So my waters are
Oh,
raging. Salt's your water.
oh yeah.
Flavor.
I was just doing another one of these. We mentioned how we need to salt the water to the point where
Yeah.
it tastes like the ocean. I mean, I think a lot of people get that wrong, but it is very important. We're just chopping up some vegetables and then frying up some sausage and pouring in some sauce, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's about the
Essentially.
gist of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty easy, quick dinner to make in the weeknight.
Let's start getting going on chopping up some vegetables. How was your 2020? Any silver linings through the chaos?
I really enjoyed 2020 to come for me. Yeah, what I enjoyed about it is, as a recovering perfectionist and people pleaser and type A personality, like I didn't let myself take a break in my music career ever. So
Okay.
even when I went through like a terrible singing condition with my voice that kind of stole my voice for a while, I still gigged through that. And I mean, the pandemic forced me to stop everything, and it was the blessing that I didn't know I needed.
Yeah.
And it was amazing, yeah, just to slow down and stop and to figure out what I really want and what I don't want, and to take that break that I really needed. And
Yeah, I mean, obviously 2020 was not a positive year, but it is nice that a lot of people were able to, similarly to that, just sort of like hit this like reset button on their lives. And that it gave
yeah,
us that opportunity to do that, which was fantastic for a lot of people.
yeah, it's a transformative, I think, for many of us. And that's often, I think, what pain will do to people and struggle. Will kind of force us out of our comfort zone or out of our out of living that is not mindful, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
and I think with it being such a like unprecedented event for all of us, it really kind of forced us all to look at everything differently. And I don't think I know anyone who's coming out of last year like the same person that they were beforehand. I think everyone kind of changed or evolved in a little bit.
yeah, I agree. So yeah, it was really helpful, yeah, to figure out what I want and all of that good stuff, and then to move back into the world with more intention, I think, instead of before I
Definitely.
didn't really know why I was doing things, or but now I
just sort of going with the breeze. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like in the music industry, it's always go, go, go and content create and
Yeah.
shows, like constant shows, and like to actually ask myself, what do I actually want to do with my career? That's been helpful for my mental health and for my happiness.
Yeah. And in 2019, you mentioned that you were a Facebook addict. Has that changed at all, or has that gotten worse over the pandemic?
Yeah, I think like most of us are social media addicts to an extent. It probably
Yeah.
doesn't bother a lot of us, and maybe some of us it does bother. I'm still an addict, but maybe more of an Instagram addict.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm trying, like I'm mindful and aware of the problem. I think most of us like wake up in the morning and then we like go instantly on our phone, like, and then we're on it all day. And then at
Yeah, it's
night
just
we're
such a
on the phone.
reflex.
Yeah, and that's like I think an addiction. Yeah, and like I'll put it down just to pick it right back up. And it's like the only time I have success is if I intentionally start my day like, okay, I'm not going to be on the cell phone, and I'll make my coffee and not be on it, and then do my meditation, and then I really have to work at it. It's like a lot of work to not be on the cell phone because it is so instant gratification, endorphins, and all that good stuff when you're on it. It's funny, I wrote a song about it in 2019 that's coming out, and then the pandemic happened right after, so some people are kind of annoyed with me that I was complaining about social media addiction. We kind of needed it, but,
when it was like it was our saving grace in a weird way for 2020.
Yeah, but yeah, I still feel like it's all about the balance. Yeah.
And then on top of it, with me, I guess specifically, I mean, being a journalist, being involved in pop culture, being interested in like the way of the world of music, it's so important to be on social media for that reason. Here. Yeah, it's
to
tricky.
Connect. Yeah.
Because I mean, you have your fan base, I have readers. I mean, we have to connect with these people, but it is like finding that kind of weird line between our virtual world and our actual world that's in front of us.
Yeah, in the last year, I've just been like really tuning into nature, and I have a lot of anxiety, and nature has been a really amazing tool to make me feel relaxed. And
I was kind of ask, since you are such like this positive kind of sunshiny person, I suppose, what inspires you to keep sort of being that positive? I mean, you say nature, so is that like usually your go-to, that you just kind of like retreat into the world?
It's funny because I have not always been a sunshiny person. That's probably why I'm this way. As a teenager, I was like gothic, and I had piercings all over my face and different color hair, and the big baggy pants and all the crazy bracelets off my arms. And I hated the world. I hated people. I hated myself. So it was intense. And I dropped out of school. I was in psychiatric facilities over and over again. I had addiction issues, and I didn't do any music. I didn't sing or anything. And I think coming from that place, when I decided to love myself, and then I decided to start the band and work on my addiction with Analog Heart, and then music saved my life. And I think like the last 10 years, I've just been kind of going the other direction into the light, because I just got to a point of hating myself so much. It's just like, I guess, rock bottom, where it's like I could either hate myself and die, or I could maybe love myself and live,
And it's amazing that you were able to find that sort of like turning point and I guess light at the end of the tunnel to for it to just be music is really kind of beautiful.
Yeah, I think the arts does that for a lot of people who are in a lot of pain.
Did you have music experience growing up, or like were you musical at all, or was it just sort of a realization later in life?
My dad forced me kind of into piano lessons at 8 years old, and I was the worst student ever, never practiced, and I also never said a peep. I was like a mute sort of child, and that I would pray for friends. It was that bad. And my teachers didn't realize I could sing. I didn't maybe even know I could sing. So that's where it started. And then I, just played music in my room. And I think at 25 is when I decided to go to Berklee College of Music and like really do the whole thing. Yeah, I already forget what the question was.
Where did you grow up? Like, how did you end up in Berkeley? Were you always around Boston?
Yeah, I grew up in Haverhill, Mass. I guess it's scary to make that decision to go to Berklee College of Music because, it's $40K a year. It's probably higher than that now. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to go to music school to maybe be a music teacher, maybe be, a performer. You don't make a lot of money doing that. So it's a scary decision. But I auditioned and I got in, and then I just went for it, and I went for a year, and that's what I could afford. And then after that, I started teaching music. I have about 30 students that I teach per week independently. I got to get my door. And, I gig with my bands, and it was a great decision to make. And I think one of the reasons why I'm just so happy is because I'm just so involved in the arts. It's a shame that I guess the other day, I looked on Google and I was like, oh, maybe I could take a painting class. And then I look on Google and it's like all for kids. And I'm like, oh, maybe I could take a dance class. It's all for kids. It's like, I just hate how this culture is like, oh, the arts are for children. And then when you grow up, oh, it's too late, or you
have to mature out of that.
That's one of my theories is why a lot of Americans are unhappy, is because the arts are taken from us, and only prodigies and famous people and, are allowed to do the arts when they get older. And I just think that's bullshit.
I'm putting in just some of my veggies into the pan. I'm gonna start cooking them down.
Same. Then do we put in the sausage after that?
I was essentially just gonna cook the vegetables until they're cooked down, and then throw the sausage in at that point, I guess. And then sauce, whatever else, and pasta. So I guess, how has it been performing this year after being in the pandemic? Because I think you had a recent show about a month ago, I want to say.
Yeah, we've had a few. I think the Haverhill Arts Walk was the first show I did with my full band, the first show in public. I'm sure a lot of artists can relate. I don't know, you're never prepared. I don't think we were prepared for the emotional reaction that we had.
Yeah.
It was overwhelming. Yes. And it was cool because it was in my hometown. So, it was art and music all day as part of Haverhill's Art Walk. And I saw every single face that I think I've ever known, all my fans and friends and family. And it was just very overwhelming and such a beautiful experience. And you could see that everyone was feeling that way, the musicians and, the listeners and the community.
Was it more excitement, nerves? I mean, how was that immediate feeling of getting back up there? Was it scarier or more exciting?
Well, for me, scary. I deal with stage fright. Maybe most people do. I'm actually not sure, but I always deal with stage fright, and I always deal with a lot of emotions and anxiety. So I always feel that way before a show. But then once I'm up there, I feel good. And I noticed that anxiety, I actually need it. Because one time I experimented, not at a show, but I tried to take a Valium before, to experiment. Oh, maybe this will help with my terrible anxiety.
Yeah.
And then I tried to sing, and I was just like a slice of white bread, just so boring. And I was like, oh wow, I need my nerves and this fire and this anxiety. It actually creates, in my opinion, I'm a pretty powerful performer, and that's one of the reasons, because I'm just so charged up and full of emotion, and even the anxiety is helpful. So it's good to know that I won't be taking Xanaxes before shows. Probably shouldn't do that anyways. But I think I took one because I was doing the voice audition, and it's just so emotionally hard to do those auditions. I just wanted to experiment, but yeah, it's still drug free. So.
Yeah. When did you audition for that?
Well, I was on American Idol in 2013, and it took 10 auditions to get on the show. So just every year I auditioned without fail, and it was just no, until one year it was yes. And now I audition for The Voice, but I'm not as into it anymore. Kind of losing faith in the whole, I don't want to sound like I'm bitter or anything, but I just feel like that show just abuses musicians, and I've seen it firsthand. When I was on Idols, a girl was having a seizure in the corner, They emotionally abuse you. They use like tactics they use in interrogation. They keep you up for days, and then they kind of terrorize you, by like eliminating maybe 300 people and overnight. And then they're like, all right, so now stay up all night and learn this whole routine. And in the morning, you're going to perform it. So no sleep. And then, so they kind of, the tactic is to get you to be so emotionally exhausted and overwhelmed that you do something psychotic on TV. The group that I was in, they tried to get me to talk shit about the girls in the group. And I said, no, I'm not going to say that because this is going to be aired to millions of people. But then they went to the girls, and then for some reason they thought it was okay to talk shit about me on national television. And then when you finally watch the show, you just wonder what edit they'll give you. And they gave me the Flower Child edit because I wasn't an idiot and talk crap about people. And then the other girls they put in a bad light, and I'm thankful to get a good edit. But at the end of the day, that's not what music is about. And I think they're just taking advantage of people like for TV. And I've seen you actually have to sign a contract that says if you kill yourself because of the show, they're not liable. So that tells you right there what kind of stuff they do to people. I've seen people quit music like devastated by people like that. Maybe I'm a little bitter, but
no, I mean, I think that's totally justifiable anger or regret or anything to that sort of an experience.
You can see as a consciousness we're evolving because, like American Idol, we used to watch that show, I think 10 years ago. And I remember, they would more make fun of people, right? And they would have the terrible people come on and we would all laugh at them. And
but like that person goes home after and then lives a life. Like, what is that life supposed to be like?
Well, and I remember one guy, when I was on the show, he went on and then he came off and he looked devastated. And he was like, they were just laughing at me up there. Like he didn't realize that he was the joke of the show. And it was just so sad. And you can see that when you watch American Idol now, they don't do that. So it's not accepted anymore to destroy lives like that and make fun of people. And it's more like the Voice model, which is I still don't agree with, but you get your 5 seconds of fame and then they throw you in the trash. They don't support the artist or anything, but at least they're not making fun of artists anymore. When I teach children for a living, and then you see, you put your kids on stage and like, there's examples like we had our children play for a certain show in the community. And then the community was actually complaining that the kids weren't good enough to play. But like my argument is, of course, they're not good enough. They're children. Like you're used to seeing these prodigies on American Idol. But, in the reality, I don't know. It's just like it's distorting people's idea of what music is really about.
Yeah.
And then you think you have to be a Whitney Houston to get up there. And like, no, that's not what it's about.
Music is something that everyone should be able to explore, enjoy without pressure or judgment. I mean, that's where music comes from. It's from a place of vulnerability or emotion. And a lot of people don't really know how to deal with this stuff in real life, so that's why we put it into music.
Yeah, my thing is I'm always going to support and uplift everyone. I'm not going to be saying negative things about people, and we're all in this together.
I mean, I think we definitely are moving away from that. The 2000s was like heavy reality TV, pop culture, like gossip, buzz, stuff like that. We still have that a lot, but I think we are growing, maturing a little bit out of that. I have hope for the future generations, at least.
Yeah, you're
right. I'm not sure about the environment, but I have hope about their emotions.
I hope we get there environmentally, but you're right. Yeah, with like magazines, you see less of people talking about people's weight gain and all of that, which is incredibly destructive on young minds, women's
especially
minds.
Just now. I mean, even looking back 15 years, I mean, there was so much just like despicable, horrible stuff said about people, and it was normal. Like, it was totally fine.
Yeah, it's crazy to think of where we'll be in the next 10 years, the next 20 years. It's really cool. But yeah, this time around, I decided that I want to release my record on Bandcamp. and not, well, I'm still releasing it on other major platforms, but I'm not going to be pushing anyone to like Spotify or iTunes this time around.
Yeah, I mean, you actually want to make some sort of money off of your music, so that makes total sense.
Yeah, and if you just like have a different vibrational feeling, or like a feeling of abundance instead of lack. So like this can be a sacred space for me and my fans to go and celebrate, you know, music and art, instead of oftentimes on Spotify, I've come from a place of lack. It's like, oh, I need more streams, and then, you know, the corporation is taking all the money, and you feel
suffering at the hands of the algorithm.
Yeah, and like, of course, I'm not against streams. I mean, that's awesome, but it's just cool to do something different, DIY, and to do something that feels more like it's mine.
I mean, it would be nice if in the near future, Spotify can respect artists a little bit more than whatever they call it that they're doing right now. But
yeah, it's hard with corporations when, you know, the motivation is money.
who would you say are your, I could probably list off a couple that I think, but who would you say are your like main musical influences, or who is like your favorite artist?
I think it'll be easy to tell, like, at least with the record that's coming out, my biggest influence at that time was Brandy Carlisle. Because she had just come out
so much.
Me too. Yeah, she had just come out with an album when I was writing mine, and you know, I come from a rock and roll band with Analog Heart, and you know, to make this transition, it was just nice to kind of lean into more folky, relaxing music. Not that I don't love to like rock out and stuff, but like sometimes you just get tired of doing that. Another one that I talk about is Hanson. Like, I used to be embarrassed by that, but if you really like check out Hanson, like they're a very impressive band. They're still touring. They have their own label.
There's nothing worth like being embarrassed over music choices, because I mean, I think all of us definitely were at some point about an artist, but I mean, when it comes down to it, it's music. It's what you like. It's totally subjective, and I mean, I'm surrounded by people that listen to pardon the noise from outside. I'm like surrounded by people that listen to totally different music, and I might not like it, I might not agree with it, I guess, myself, but I see that the other person enjoys it and that they get something out of it. So like, who am I to say something about that, I guess?
Yeah, and it's been liberating for me to just like admit that I like them. And yeah, pull a lot of influence from them just by listening to them at such a young age. And you can hear that in the 3-part harmonies of Liz Bills and the Change. I suppose that's the influence. So yeah, just like a lot, I think Lake Street Dive has been like a recent influence. And of course, Grace Potter.
I guess, how do you feel like you've changed between your EP and this debut album coming out?
I think the EP was acoustic, so it was just a djembe player, lead guitar, and acoustic guitar. And now the album that's coming out is a 6-piece band. So I have the 2 lady backup singers, and I had a interesting sort of djembe player this time around with like, it's hard to explain, but all these unique sort of bells and whistles that he had created his own little drum sets, and
cool. That's fun.
And a bass player. So just more full bands. I would say it's still in the same sort of vibe as the first EP. I think the difference is I worked with a different producer. So this new record that's coming out, I think, sounds more organic. Like, I think that with the producer I did the first EP with, he worked with a lot of pop punk bands, and, you know, I worked with him with the rock and roll bands. So it just sounds more produced and more perfect, which is fine for what that is. But I'm really going more towards authenticity and imperfection if that
Something a
makes
little more
sense.
raw and real.
Yeah, raw, organic, real. A lot of the songs were recorded live this time around without a metronome, which is, I don't know if I'll do that again, but it was I mean, it came out fine, but it can be more stressful and hard to work with those kind of tracks. But
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
I'd say, yeah. So it sounds less, yeah, it just sounds more raw and organic.
Well, I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the next record after this one will have like full drums. So I just keep kind of evolving bigger and bigger, and that's the direction.
Eventually, it'll just be Liz Bills and the orchestra.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 20 back singers.
So checking in. My sauce is coming together. I think it's getting there. It's pretty close. My pasta is pretty much boiled. Where are you at?
Yeah, my pasta's all set. My sauce is good. The veggies are done. And now I just started the sausage. I don't know if I was supposed to.
I just kind of tossed mine in with the sauce and like chopped it up. I was kind of like cooking it down with everything. So I'm just letting everything kind of marry, I suppose.
Nice. Yeah, after my sausage is cooked, they should be all done.
So we've kind of touched upon this a little bit, and it's something that you speak out a lot about on social media and just in your identity itself, with ageism in the music industry, especially towards women or female identifying people. I guess what would you say to someone who feels like, oh, it might be too late, it might not be the time for me to try to do this? Like, what would you say to someone like that?
Yeah, I guess it's like the same arguments like in the arts where like, oh, once I'm an adult, I can't do any of that stuff anymore. So yeah, I think like I started feeling this way. Started feeling too old. Like the culture will tell women, I'm not sure if they tell men this too, maybe.
Not so much, unfortunately. Yeah.
But they tell women that. They tell you that once you are 24, you're used up and you can't do it anymore. And then, they sell you all these products and you're always in constant, trying to stay young and wrinkle free and thin and youthful. And so that's the message that's ingrained, I think, in women. And so I started feeling that way, around 24. And I was like, oh, I only have so many years to make it big or whatever. And then, the years pass and now I'm 35 and I'm still, the idea is not to make it big anymore. I mean, that's awesome, but that's not going to make me happy. But I'm going off on a tangent. So I guess my argument is the men can do it. So the women can too. Like I just played Harry's Hill Festival and the headliner, forgetting the name, he's 40 years old. So yeah, I was like, that could be me in a few years. And, I'm just like, you can create your own reality and you can make your own choices. And somebody out there is saying that when you reach a certain age, you're too old. And that's just somebody saying that. So I can say something too, right? And I can create a different story.
There's 40-year-old people with dreams. There's 50-year-old people with dreams and 60-year-old people that still want to do something. I mean, yeah, life is, it's not about finishing early. I think it's just about enjoying the whole time that you're here. Yeah. And I saw Grace Potter a few years ago and I'm forgetting his name, but there's like a whole documentary on him. He's like a Black soul singer and his dream was to, I think he sang a lot of James Brown songs. He was a James Brown impersonator and he also did originals. And Grace Potter asked him to join her on tour when he was like 80 years old. So like he got his big break around that age and came out with his first record at like 80. I think he passed away. I can't even imagine like that emotional relief that late in your life. I mean, that's beautiful. That's awesome. Yeah. But I mean, I think we can create our own realities and we can pave the way for other older people to, I would say, just keep doing the thing you love to do. And, if fame and fortune come with that, great. And if it doesn't, like that fame and fortune is not going to bring you the happiness. Just doing the art is going to bring you the happiness. Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with it. I just want to create authentic art for myself and so I can connect with other people. And that's what's important to me. And of course, I'd like
that's awesome.
Respect the art too and get paid and all that good stuff. Yeah.
So I know we haven't heard them yet, but I was curious if you had like a favorite song on your album that's coming out.
Good question. It's funny, like probably most of us can relate. It's like you go through phases and you have like a favorite and then you move on to the next favorite and so on and so forth. Yeah, it's hard to say what is the favorite. I guess I don't have one. It's nice that I do like them all. It's been a struggle to like my art, and I've been vocal about that. Because as a perfectionist, you have like what's called perfectionist dreams. And when I had this record, I was like, oh, the next one I'll be good enough and I'll have the songs people like. And then this mentality never goes away. And then you're like, wait, this next record never comes. So like the work
make it now.
Yeah. And then the work, like to love myself means I have to love me now. And it's really hard to do that for myself. So I just made it a point to really do the work on loving my art. I almost threw this record in the trash. It took me 2 years to release it. Like when I was recording it, like I went home and I was like, this is a huge mistake. And, I was having like terrible mental health problems. And then after that, I quit the band. It was just, I was in a lot of pain because I was rejecting myself. And then through all that pain and struggle, I was like, oh, it's a simple solution. I can love myself. I mean, it's not simple, and I could accept my art and maybe it is good enough and my life feels easier and freer by intentionally trying to go in that direction, even if it can be hard to love oneself and one's own creations.
Yeah. It's almost like tricking your mind into feeling better about yourself. It's like, no, I can feel this way. I should feel this way. So let's make it work. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, and it does work. Like it's because it's like, it works. So it's hard, but it works. And I'd rather love myself and the art that I'm doing now than always having my head somewhere in the future of some version of myself that's not really me. It's just some version I think people will love. But at the end of the day, I'm just myself. And I don't want life to feel so hard anymore. I just want to accept my life and myself. And it's hard to do, but if you can do that, life gets easier.
I'm pretty close to being ready. How are you?
Yeah, I think my sausages are done. And all I got to do now is just heat up the sauce, mix it all together. And I just have like a can of sauce. I usually make my own sauce, but I've been lazy and
I zhuzhed up a jar. I've never heard of this before, but socceroonie.
What the heck's that?
I have no idea what that means. It says peppers, spices, and the whole shebang.
The whole sock.
The whole sock. All of it.
But yeah, I just discovered that I have like a sensitivity to gluten, dairy, corn, soy, processed food, and sugar.
That's a bit of a wake-up call.
Yeah, and then my doctor's like, yeah, you just had to cut all those things out. All right, bye. I'm like, I don't know how am I going to live?
You just have to remove all the foods you've been eating and have fun.
Yeah, you didn't see any issue with it, which I mean, maybe some people don't have issues with big diet changes, but I do.
I mean, why are you complaining? You can have water and grass.
Yeah. So I've been trying to, you just eat. I guess it's called the Anti-Inflammatory Diets, but I noticed that, by doing this diet, it's stressing me out and I've become afraid of food. So that's just kind of, and then the stress, because I have a skin problem. And then when I go back to the doctor, he's like, oh, I think it's stress. I'm like, well, it's because of all the food I had to cut out.
This doctor sounds really great.
Yeah. So now my latest tactic is just to eat like, in moderation, don't freak out, and, allow, like today, like we had to go to a different restaurant. So like I allowed some cheese and like, because I don't want my body to like react to food in a fear response, and just create more cortisol and stress hormones in my body because I'm afraid of food now. And now I'm afraid of stress. I'm just getting stressed.
Being afraid of being afraid and everything. Too much.
Yeah, just working on being a less scared creature in the world.
Well, I guess as we are nearing the end of our maybe Bolognese, how are you feeling going into the release of your album? And how are you feeling just about the rest of the year? Like, what are you looking forward to the most?
I'm feeling really good. I worked with like a music coach. She had to get my mind right, like all these things I'm talking about, like loving my music. And that was one of my goals. And I feel like I've gotten to that place, which is incredible. And I'm looking forward to the release and just celebrating with my fans. And, this music I wrote like 2-3 years ago. So yeah, I'm trying to stay in the moment and not just run off to the next thing. But, over the winter, I don't want to gig as much. I really want to focus on a theatrical set and really getting that worked out. I have a team of people helping me with props and ideas, and so hopefully we can hit. Yeah,
it's exciting. Can't wait to see what that turns into.
Yeah, I have a lot of cool ideas. So it's like this idea that you're not just watching, a singer perform, but it's like it's also a visual experience. So you're seeing all different things happening and dialogues. And so it's not like after a song, I grab my water and take a sip and we're just tuning up. It's more like everything. It's a whole
experience.
Yeah. That's and I've wanted that. Yeah. I've wanted that for over 10 years. And I just never, because you really have to believe in that. And it takes a lot of work and put yourself out there and be vulnerable. And I just wasn't up to it until now. And so that's what we're working on this year. And we hope to break more into the festival scene for next year. I've been really loving playing festivals, and I've been trying to make that an intentional sort of manifestation. So I think those are the plans.
I wish you the best of luck. I've been a theater kid, so I applaud you in your efforts to put on a good show. And yeah, I hope it all comes together exactly how you're thinking.
Yeah, it's funny. I've never done theater, so I've never acted. But like I'm very, I'm a performer, and I think that's what I'm best at, other than like vocals. And I really want to go there, so I'm excited to become a theater kid, I guess. So yeah, here she is.
Are you all ready? Is it all getting there?
Yeah. It's a nice, nutrient-dense feast.
I know. I love the idea that nothing in here is really bad for me. The pasta, maybe, but
in moderation, it's pretty good.
Are you ready to plate up?
Oh, yeah, let's plate up. I'll make it look nice.
And then we got our Parmesan cheese or nutritional yeast. All right.
Hey.
Ready?
Cheers.
It smells so good.
Bite. We got to give the audience a nice bite. Here we go.
Cheers.
Delicious.
That tastes like a nice night with the family. Well, we made pasta and it's delicious. Thank you so much for suggesting that we pull this together. This was delicious. It was great.
Yeah, thank you.
And so new album comes out on August 13th.
Yeah, August 13th. Yep, it'll be available everywhere, but I'm just like directing everybody to go to my Bandcamp, which link will be in the bio. And you can grab it there digitally, or you can get, the real copy.
Yeah.
Mail it to you.
Gotta snag a real copy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck with everything moving forward. It was such a pleasure to talk with you this evening. And I hope you have
hanging out.
Yeah, I hope you have a great dinner. I hope you have a great month. I hope the album release is great. And I hope I get to see you on the road soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. And have a great night. And thanks so much for having me. I had so
Yeah,
much
of
fun.
course.